I was inspired to make this video after watching a recent one by HazedNConfused titled "Thank You Embark, Love Letter to the Finals." HazedNConfused has made a video that needed to be made and said things that needed to be said. I've linked their video in the description below and I recommend you watch it and subscribe to them before watching this video if you haven't already. Go do it now and I'll see you back here in 7 minutes. Okay, let's talk about balance. If you jump into any part of the finals community, whether it be the finals official Discord, Reddit, comments on Embark's videos on multiple platforms, or Steam discussions, you'll see people constantly asking for balance changes. Weapon balancing is really terrible. We need the A.K.A buffed as soon as possible. A.K.A nerf was a win and saved humanity. Nerf Lewis and RPG, buff RPG and Lewis gun specifically, nerf the goddamn snipers, buff snipers, please buff throwing knives Embark, nerf throwing knives, nerf the flamethrower and sword, buff flamethrower, buff sword, nerf lights y'all, they're still OP. Why would you want to nerf light? Revert light, nerf heavy. Heavy's got it so easy, I hope next patch they nerf medium. Buff mediums please, it's so bad we can't shoot while healing. Buff heavies, nerf heavy, buff glitch trap, buff data reshaper, buff smoke, buff flashbang, 3-shot track and dart, buff FAMAS, buff KS23, buff 93R, nerf XP54, buff hammer, give glitch trap for light, give sonar, give heavy. Anyhow, I'm sure you get the picture. Where does this never-ending torrent of completely conflicting requests come from? Well, I think the answer lies in what people's expectations are when it comes to what balancing is, and perhaps more importantly, and maybe what isn't being discussed enough for the finals, how much people expect the feeling of balance to vary throughout a round. Our feelings about balance at a given moment in pretty much any FPS game could be defined by this diagram that I've made up. Let's call this your current sense of balance. In the middle, when the game is tight, the competition feels close and everything will feel well balanced. Then there might be times in a game where you feel like you have a real advantage over your opponents. If that advantage extends, then you might feel like you're invincible. I'm a god status. Conversely, there might be times when you feel disadvantaged, and if it gets worse, could get to the point where you just don't want to play anymore, hence the Alt F4 status. There are really only 3 ways you can move up and down these levels. Either the weapons and gadgets you have at hand provide you a distinct advantage or disadvantage, regardless of your skill level, which would mean that the game has moments where it is unbalanced, at least over a short period. Or your skill level at the game moves you up and down, so if you're good, you feel like you have an advantage, and if you're unskilled, you feel disadvantaged. Or it's a combination of those, so skill plus the weapons and gadgets. And we can assume that when facing any particular opponent, the more one of us is feeling advantaged, the other will be feeling the opposite at the same time. Makes sense, right? So in the finals, what's driving this conflicting belief amongst the community that particular weapons and gadgets both need nerfing and buffing? Well, I think if we consider how this diagram works for another game, it can help us put balance in the finals in proper perspective for us. And it's a franchise of games that many of the Embark Studios developers know well. In Battlefield, there will often be situations where the weapon or gadget, or in the case of Battlefield, maybe a vehicle, will provide you with a distinct advantage or disadvantage in the game for several minutes at a time. For instance, here in Battlefield 1 on the Empire's Edge map, this was one of my favourite locations in the entire game. This is a fixed gun emplacement which you enter into, lock the door behind you, and then jump on the gun and utterly bombard the point on the little peninsula across the map, which, if my memory serves me well, was the E flag. With this gun, you could also shell what I think was the D flag higher up too. Sometimes I would jump in this gun at the start of a round and rain hell down on enemy players for 5, maybe even 10 minutes before eventually one of the enemy would get so sick of me deleting them over and over that they'd sneak around the edge of the map to my location, blow open the gun emplacement door, and bring my advantage to an end. Likewise, in Battlefield 5, even if you're brand new and relatively unskilled at the game or even FPS games games altogether. If you jump into a tank driven by a skilled driver, you can sit as the gunner in the tank and pick off loads of enemies for a long time, sometimes maybe even most of the round. But usually someone on the other team will find a way to get around behind you, throw a few anti-tank mines down on the ground and blow you sky high, or jump in a plane and rain death down on you from above. Battlefield and many other FPS games are designed to provide you with these longish periods in the game where you have a clear advantage or disadvantage purely from the weapons, gadgets or vehicles that you're using, often regardless of your skill. But you always know that there's going to be a time when the advantage comes to an end. But that's fine, because you have plenty of fun either having that advantage or eventually taking out the person with the advantage and then teabagging their lifeless body on the ground. Anyhow, the finals does not operate this way. The weapons and gadgets in the game are some of the most tightly balanced of any FPS game around. The tiny differences between the weapons and the variety of gadgets mean that any advantage gained from using a particular item either has a very short duration or a simple counter to it. Even the light stun gun, which is often one of the most talked about gadgets when it comes to balancing, only provides its stun effect for less than 4 seconds. This ultra-tight balance between the game's weapons and gadgets places much more emphasis on your skill as being the deciding factor that moves you up and down the current sense of balance diagram. This is why we end up with 2 people asking for a buff and a nerf to the exact same weapon, and why we see that over and over and over throughout the community. For instance, someone new to using the sword and the dash specialization for the light build probably feels like they get taken out every time before they complete an elimination. Therefore, the sword must need a buff. Whereas facing a skilled light with sword and dash can leave you wondering what the heck just happened, because you've been coined before you can even see them. So you then think the sword must need a nerf. It's not the sword, people. If you want to enjoy the finals more, there's 2 things you need to come to terms with. Firstly, you are going to lose a lot, both 1v1 and as a team. HazedNConfused made this point in their great video, except that the fun is not going to come from winning or feeling like you have a massive advantage over your opponents for prolonged periods each round. Secondly, except that it's going to take some time for your skill to improve. If you pick a loadout and play it every day for a week, I guarantee you'll be better at it by the end of that week, and you won't be feeling so much like your weapons and gadgets of choice all need to be buffed. The fun in the finals comes from how tight the competition is, and from the fact that the difference between winning and losing is strictly put into your hands as a player rather than based on what you're carrying in your hands. And the Embark devs have done an amazing job of creating that situation. They have masses of data for them to call on to make sure that this tight balance is maintained, and we should start giving them a break and trusting their colossal amount of FPS experience. They know what they're doing when it comes to balancing this game. You, on the other hand, probably have at best a few hundred hours in the game, but more likely a lot less. The fact you might have thousands of hours in another FPS doesn't mean you know how the final should be balanced, because you're not the developer. Only they know what their intention is for how the game should be balanced, and we should play it as they intended, not how we think it should be played. Although given, any FPS experience you have might help you improve in the finals faster. Give yourself some time and try to enjoy the process of getting good. Even if you get deleted a lot by players more skilled than you will get there. I started this video going through a bunch of comments about balancing from the community, and I want to end it with a couple that sum up the situation about balance in the finals really well. Cody says, "I love this game, but I'm not good at it at all, so I never play." And then ZTD32 Troy says, "Who cares if you're good, as long as if you keep playing, you will learn mechs and learn how to play objective better. Remember, higher ground equals better." Now, I don't know who you are, ZTD32 Troy, but you are 100% on the money, and you even gave them a solid tip to improve their skill. Trust that Embark are balancing the game exactly as they intended their vision of the game to be, and that means if you just keep playing, people, you'll love the game more and more, just like I do. Thanks for watching this video to the end. Do the usual YouTube business if you want to see more videos from me from now on. Give a like or comment as you see fit, and enjoy the rest of your day. Kia kaha. Stay strong.
Everybody knows the world ain't right. Down on your knees, get up and fight.